Hi guys,
Hi, welcome back. I'm Mogs.
and this is Taru. And we just want to start by saying thank you for everybody who tuned in last week, where we covered Monza and everything F1. We were so happy you guys joined the conversation. This week, we're going to do a bit of a Singapore preview and everything else that went on. So much escalates in a week, so take it away, Mogs.
So, we're going to start this podcast with a moment of silence because a very serious crime has literally happened. The eighth wonder of the world, Carlos Sainz, has cut his hair for the Singapore GP.
RIP. RIP to all the science fans, including me. I loved how you called him the eighth wonder of the world. But, truth be told, he still looks good. It's still working out. The hair's still nice. I like it longer. Do you like it longer?
Yeah, he's going to look good regardless. That man is so beautiful.
I think he's second most beautiful after Lewis Hamilton. Like, beautiful, not well, he could be handsome too, but beautiful is what I'd use. They're like pretty boys on the grid. But what's even more weird is George Russell. What's going on with your hair? I think our boy is kind of going for a center part. He's kind of doing a flow, He used to be like a neat schoolboy with a side part. Like, what are your thoughts?
I'm actually liking it. I'm totally digging it. And he just screams rich. Him and Carmen together, they style their clothes so well. They just look like old money rich. And
Dude, yeah.
George Russell is a very good looking man. Actually, most of the drivers on the grid are. I often wonder these men could have made it to Hollywood if they were not driving on the grid. Quite literally.
What's strange is, as a Mercedes fan, I didn't think George Russell was attractive. Then he started dating Carmen. I think she sprinkled some of her magic. Like, Carmen's style is impeccable. Like, that's the style I want. Like, she's pretty young too, hey, and like she works in finance from what I know. But she's given him like a glow up fashionably and emotionally, right? I feel like George is way less arrogant, much more calm, just like a more wholesome person. I definitely think she makes him a better person.
I think so too. Speaking about the wags, another wag who I think has an incredible fashion sense is Kika, Pierre Gasly's girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And I think Gasly's kind of getting into the fashion game. He's on a basic level, not Lewis level yet, but he's definitely better than everybody. Can I say everybody else on the grid? Like, yeah, even like Carlos, he could be fashionable, but on the grid he's boring. But Gasly's amping it up too, hey?
Fun fact, only the Ferrari drivers are not allowed to wear cool fits to the race. They are expected to wear the t-shirt just like the rest of the team. That's why Carlos and Leclerc don't serve looks every weekend, if you ever wondered, actually.
Oh my God, I didn't wonder. I just thought they decided to be boring, but that is a very, very fun fact that has enlightened us into this. I think honestly, the most boring pair is the Red Bull duo, like Sergio and Max. I feel like I've seen everybody in normal clothes, but just not Max and Sergio.
Max is always in a Red Bull shirt, like always. If he's in a club, if he's at a dinner event, or for any possible event, he's always in a simple Red Bull shirt.
I've seen pictures of him in a club. It's a white t-shirt or it's like a plain black tee. He's an easygoing guy. But speaking of Red Bull, did you happen to catch the whole Sergio helmet situation? Lead us with that.
I think it was really unfortunate, all the remarks made by Helmut Marko against Sergio Perez, most specifically quoting him, and these are not words coming out of my mouth. Helmut Marko basically said, let's remember that Sergio Perez is South American, so he's not as focused as Max or Seb was.
Yeah, like what the heck? Helmut's known for saying dramatic shit, but yeah, that's unacceptable. But yeah, like Lewis has come out and condemned that, and he said that people higher up are never held accountable. But you know what this reminds me of? The whole Yuri Vip situation. If I don't know if you guys remember, I think it's a few months ago. I don't even know if it's last season. I can't recall the timeline exactly. But Yuri Vips was junior Red Bull driver. He said a racial slur during a video gaming stream or something like that. But he was held accountable, rightfully so, too. Like, he put out a statement, Red Bull put out a statement. They even suspended him from their program. And essentially Yuri lost a seat in F1. And I thought, as sad as it is for Yuri, and I don't know, he was young, uninformed, whatever. No one's defending his position. He did what he did. It was a big consequence, but nothing's come out of Helmet. I think Helmet almost said this last week, or was this week?
So I think Helmet did issue an apology to Sergio Perez, but I think he was obviously forced to because he was called out everywhere. But what
Yeah.
disappoints me is Red Bull or the FIA, they've not put out a formal statement condemning these type of terrible stereotypes.
Yeah, I think this is a more serious issue that not a lot of people talk about. And like, I don't know, I do feel like there's, we're not going to get into this podcast, but there looks to be like corruption, or sometimes I do feel like the FIA is unfair, well, on track and off, like just for a better, um, or just for more enjoyment of the fans. Like, I would have felt so much nicer if Abu Dhabi wasn't Masi's call. Like, if Max won, great. But I feel like it's stained Red Bull, it's stained Max, it's hurted Mercedes fans. Like, it affects a whole lot of people due to incompetency at the top. So here's hoping for better regulatory body within the F1 team.
I truly believe that I really hope Sergio Perez has come to a realization that Red Bull is just not treating him right. And he recently spoke out too that if he feels like he is definitely like the number two driver, or people in the Red Bull team are not betting on him, he's going to look for more options in 24 as well. And I'm so happy he's finally come to this. It sucks that it had to be a horrible statement made against him to drive him to this point. But he has done everything for Red Bull. He has been a great second driver, supported Max's victories. And I don't think Max could have won so many wins in a row if it was not Sergio Perez fighting in the back.
Dude, facts, but that's so contradictory of Sergio. Like, good for Sergio for coming out and saying that, but like, come on, he is a clear second driver. Like, Sergio, you should have left like 2 years ago, man. But interesting to say, Sergio is looking for other options, because I don't know where he'd go. Where do you think Sergio is going to go, or who's going to take him? Because Sergio was, in my opinion, good. Like, he came in whatever number two, quote unquote, but he did what he had to do as a number two. But this past season's kind of exposed him a bit, where even though we spoke about this last spot, like, he's doing the best he can. He's number two on like the points, but his performance is so inconsistent. So I don't know how that's going to affect his chances with other teams.
Regardless, Sergio Perez, we hope you didn't take too much of it to heart and that you're doing okay. And
Yeah.
trust me when I say this, no one in the world believes in these stereotypes. You're doing great. Next, speaking about Red Bull's junior team, AlphaTauri, rumors say Hugo Boss is going to be the next big sponsor for AlphaTauri, and they're basically redesigning how this junior program is going to be more independent of Red Bull.
Oh, wow. Like, I almost thought they're redesigning fashion wise because AlphaTauri has a line, but this is deeper. Hey, like, are you talking about management? Like, what's going on there?
I think they're going to go through some major changes. And moreover, recently, Helmut Marko issued a statement saying Liam Lawson is definitely in the running for a 2024 seat to drive for AlphaTauri, and that they also want an experienced driver to drive alongside him. So
Yeah.
that comes to my next point. What's going to happen to Yuki?
Yeah, so I think Helmut back at it with the controversial statements, right? So I have two issues with that. Two issues with that. One, I'm happy Danny Rick is there, but it seems a little contradictory to have an experienced driver at AlphaTauri, right? Because according to me, one of the main dilemmas of these sort of junior slash feeder teams is, yeah, they want to nurture new talent, but they also need money and points to kind of keep going forward. So they're at crossroads with that. And interesting, he said that straight out the back. It's probably because so I don't know if everybody knows this, but Red Bull and Honda had an engine contract. I think it was up till 2025. They've decided to terminate it, and Honda's going to move to Aston Martin in 2026. So I think because Yuki is a big sponsorship with Honda and all of that. So I think Yuki might go to Honda. But also, like, what do you think about this? promoted to Red Bull, but as reserve driver. So it's like a promotion demotion all in one. Like, what are your thoughts there?
I think it's gonna be a demotion for Yuki. Yes, he might have a chance to run some simulations, do some practices with the Red Bull car, but he's not gonna have a chance to drive on the grid, and he's clearly deserves it. He's the only one who scored points in AlphaTauri, and it's gonna be ridiculous if they don't re-sign him and demote him to a reserve driver. Like,
Yeah.
no offense, Mick Schumacher is the reserve driver for
Yeah.
Mercedes. Would we
Yeah.
ever want to see him drive for Mercedes? No.
Facts. Facts. I agree. So the interesting thing about Yuki is I feel like he was the very like in the recent past, AlphaTauri is invested in him. He was tough at first. Like he was hot headed, he'd yell, he crashed so many times. Yuki's fine. Do you think they almost kept him because of the Honda contract? Whereas they just sacked Nick because I don't know, they had nothing to gain from Nick except for I guess Nick was supposed to fulfill the role of like an experienced driver to take on Yuki under his wing, kind of like their expectation with Daniel, but the reverse happened. So I feel like they sacked Nick, and I assume they're keeping Yuki because of his Honda contract, but we're closing into 2025. So Helmut's just, doing his thing and running loose.
But given that Nick used to drive for Williams before, and Williams still have not announced who the second driver would be for the 2024 grid, do you think it might be a return of Nick De Vries?
Oh no, I think our man is gone. I read somewhere he started joining Harvard Business School. Like, I don't know, he might withdraw from the semester. That's a possibility. But no, I think Nick is gone. But yeah, what's interesting is if Honda, which is already partnered with Aston Martin, what's going to happen to their driver lineup? We're in 2023, so 2 more years. We got Fernando, multi-year contract. We don't know what that means. And then we got Stroll, the one true biggest. Like, Stroll's contract is like Area 54. Like, can't be found, don't know what's in it. Like, what's happening there? Like, that would be an interesting shift, right?
100%. And I would like to see Aston Martin challenging Red Bull next year. This has been the most boring season. And even Mercedes came out and said they're going to only focus on their next year car because Red Bull is so far ahead this year. But fun fact about Lance Stroll, Nico Rosberg totally called him out. She said, I don't know what happened to Stroll, but Aston Martin can't afford a driver who's so far behind his teammate. So with all these changes happening in Aston Martin, I would love to see a slightly more competent driver fighting for a world championship.
Oh yeah, we love Nico, always calls people out when they need to be. And we agree too, but here's the dilemma with Aston Martin. Stroll's gone, money and funding's gone. And then if you want Honda, I think they'll get in Yuki. So it could become like the nepotism team of the grid of sorts, but only time will tell. But they're literally costing themselves points by keeping Stroll. And as Nico said, I agree. I don't know what happened to Stroll. Liked him, don't know what's going on. But speaking of contracts and all of that, did you catch that snippet that's going viral about Zach Brown on Danny Rick?
I think Zach Brown is the shadiest character on the grid. I just do not like that man. He did Danny so dirty and then has the audacity to say that they should have protected themselves in the contract and have performance protections. If you put Max Verstappen in the worst car on the grid, do you think he's going to be a world champion? No, because your car sucks. Zach Brown is delusional as hell.
Yeah, I feel like that's the one thing he hasn't come out and fully acknowledged is what's happening in the car. Because I guess Lando's a good driver. See, the thing that happened with Danny were twofold, right? One is the car, but Danny too has said several times that he's tried everything. I don't know what they're doing with that car. And he also said the one thing he'd never repeat with another team is that he got too into the details. He tried so hard to fix it. So I don't know if it was Danny was out of form for a bit and that coincided with McLaren's bad car. But yeah, good for Danny though. He negotiated a great contract, got 20 mil or something not to drive. And yeah, I don't know. Zach Brown seems I don't know, he seems passionate about sports, but he's more businessy. You know what I mean? Like I feel like Toto and Horner, like it runs their blood. Like even the other teams, like Gunther, like he's so passionate. I don't see the passion too much because Zach
Yeah.
Brown's been very official, like more on a businessy role. So
And Zach Brown, a friendly reminder, Danny got you your first win. So
oh,
please respect him and stop saying bullshit on other podcasts. Like, you're the
that's
least
hilarious.
liked person on the grid. Like, just
Yeah.
shut up.
That's hilarious because they got a tattoo of that. Do you remember
I know.
after
I
Monza
know.
1
I love
and
that.
2? But I go on social media and I see all the comments, like when Danny was coming back, was everyone's like, you Danny Rick fans hiding behind that one Monza win, which, wasn't too technical or out of like full merit. Like I can't recall Monza, but I don't remember it being exactly like the best performance. I think it like there's a bit of chance and luck. Well, every race has chance and luck. But yeah, they always call us Danny Rick fans out on hiding behind Monza. But yeah, that was their last real win. So yeah, that's Zach Brown. And speaking of team principals, I heard you have some news on the return of Seb. Do you want to share?
Yes, and this is me just manifesting this. Sebastian Vettel, the grid misses you. You left way too soon, and we would love to see your return back on the grid. And recently, Seb even said that he hasn't completely ruled out the possibility of a return to the grid. A lot of
Yeah.
the greats like Massa, Schumacher, Alonso all made a return, so I'm hoping for that. But Yuki also said Seb would be the perfect team principal for the Red Bull Junior team. So we would
Oh,
definitely like to see him more active in the grid, whether it's the Red Bull Junior team management or back driving.
yes. So people like Seb or Hamilton, they've got so much experience. They've won championships time and again. It's time for them to carry on. And yeah, it does feel weird that Seb's out when Lewis and Fernando's in. Like if they all three left together, I will accept. That's the end of our or my era. I don't know what yours. That's when I started watching F1. And it's a nice exit, right? And then you guys can take, it's a change of guard. That's good. But honestly, I can't trust Yuki's words because Yuki was like, Nick DeVries is awesome. He gives like the best inputs. Like he's so amazing. Boom, he was sacked like a few weeks later. But I do see where Yuki's coming from because I feel like Nick is so experienced technically, especially spending all the time with Mercedes, that Yuki's like, whoa, these inputs are cool. But yeah, I don't know. Do you think Seb would do what Helmet does?
I think he would do it better because he comes from a place of kindness. I feel Helmut Marko is in the news for all the wrong reasons all the time.
Mm.
He might have transformed Red Bull to be a winning team along with Christian Horner. I'm going to give credit where due. But I feel like when you're mentoring junior drivers, you need to provide them the support and a wholesome environment for them to learn and grow,
Yeah.
which clearly is not the case with AlphaTauri right now.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Helmet's past, but he's been great at finding talent for
Oh,
like
yeah.
what he does. Like I've never seen him race. I don't know if Seb would be too good with that, but yeah, he'd be a great mentor as a former driver. I think he's awesome to nurture. And that's one of the biggest conflicts of F1 teams is like we want young talent, but do we have the funds because it's such an expensive sport? Can they afford the crashes? And it's such high performance, high stakes. So it's a bit hard for all of that. And yeah, we have some news on Max and moving to IndyCar. He's always saying stuff about leaving F1.
So I think Max is just gonna someday equal Lewis and Schumacher's record, and then it's gonna say, I want more out of motorsport, and he probably will achieve the Triple Crown. Max has that personality. Alonso is already chasing it, and they get along really well and respect each other a lot. So I won't be surprised if Alonso drags him on a detour from Formula One as well. But yeah, Mario Andretti is planning to persuade Max to
Oh
drive
man.
the 500. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that goes.
You know what? Honestly, I'd want to see Max in a Le Mans because it's a team sport, and this Max is a solo driver. Like, will that expose him, or will that say overall Max is indeed a god? I don't know. I don't think he'd do too well there, but I'd love to see him in a non Red Bull because we've only seen Max Red Bull, right? Junior team Red Bull, yeah, like how he'll perform. Because a lot of the driver's strength is in their versatility. Like it's cool. He's achieved amazing stuff. And the change in regulation has helped his talents. Everything came together, right time, right place. But I'd love to see him in another team. Like everybody out there listening to, let us please comment below like what your thoughts on if you'd imagine Max is in another team.
Next up, Alfa Romeo signed both their drivers, Bottas and Zhou Guanyu. We're very happy to see this. Not that we care so much about Alfa Romeo, but we don't like too many grid swaps, and they both have done a pretty good job with arguably the worst car on the grid.
Dude, yeah, Joe, great job. What's happened to my man Valtteri? Left Mercedes. He's kind of like invisible. Like I've not been keeping like up with his performances, but Joe's been like out qualifying him, outdoing him on several occasions. And I don't know, do you think they should drop Valtteri? Sorry, Valtteri, I don't know if this is harsh. I love you, you were great in Mercedes, but like what's going on? I'm more up to date with his like cycling lifestyle and life with Tiffany. Like, I don't know what's going on in his driving. Like, let me know your thoughts on that.
I think he can be a pro cyclist at this point. Like, he is always cycling and throwing in a couple of nudes on the beach here and there.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
living
yeah.
like
And he's like on a mullet face. Like, I don't know what's going on with Valerie. He's like finding himself. Like, no, but tell me, Alfa Romeo has been non existent if not for Joe. Like, Joe is the one bringing them in the news, fun performances, or other things. But honestly, Alfa Romeo and Haas has been so non existent this season. They're just, in their own dimension, doing their own racing. I'm kind of sad, man.
I think like Bottas does play a role. He brings in a lot of experience, and it's very natural in a junior team to have an experienced driver and a rookie. So I think them as a combination work out well. And I think if there are any improvements being made on the car, it's because of Valtteri. But yeah, I don't think he cares that much. Like, I think when you've sacrificed so much and continuously losing to your teammate like he did in Mercedes, I think
Yeah.
that dream of winning a world championship would have gone away.
I think that's far off, 100%. But what's interesting you said was it's normal for junior teams to have an experienced driver and new driver. I think we should correct that and say a declining experienced driver. That seems to be the trend. That makes more sense. Somewhere where you can happily retire, but impart some education on your way out, right? And speaking of experience, did you see Danny Rick's social media purge? He unfollowed. Like, what's the tea there?
He unfollowed his previous trainer, Michael, and I don't even know. I've seen so many theories online.
Oh,
And
really?
like, something serious must have happened. I don't want to speculate too much, but they were best friends. And I've seen so many of their videos where they say that they spend more time with each other than their partners, family, and their best friends. And
Oh,
now
wow.
the fact that he's unfollowed him, I think something happened when in McLaren.
Yeah.
And I think when maybe Danny was at his lowest mental health point, maybe Michael's process was no longer working with Daniel, and he might
Yeah.
have thought that was the reason. Like, he shouldn't have even reached that spot, rock bottom.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they do play a very important role in driver health, right? And yeah, like I've seen some Drive to Survive episodes, and they were like BFFs. But what's more interesting is he's training Yuki now, and Danny Rick must have been like, "Hey, like he's gotta see him more up close and personal in the paddock." But that's also with like Lewis and Angela, right? Like I don't know what happened there. They seem to have a nice parting, but I don't know. There's some conspiracy rumors there too that it was actually a fallout and Lewis fired her and stuff like that. But it's hard to imagine. Like they're much longer. I don't know if they're longer than Danny and Michael, but
But the
yeah.
fact that he unfollowed him, something's fishy there. Something must have happened.
And Danny's like the sweetest guy. Like for him to
Yeah.
unfollow, it's a big statement. So yeah, guys, let us know if you have any fun theories or anything concrete even that you think about this Danny Rick situation.
But one thing I'm loving about Danny and social media is him singing to Taylor Swift and Olivia Rodrigo's songs. He knows what the fans want, and a man vibing to these girlies. We support it, we love it, and we're big.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's a big country music fan. I don't know if you've seen his country music. Yeah, I think he vibes. I never think he's like a country lad, but it goes. And I think Danny is genuinely happy. I think he's okay to retire, decline, do whatever, as long as he's in the Red Bull fam. I think he has a better relationship with them than Sergio does, honestly.
Oh,
Uh,
100%.
yeah, and Danny Rick is always keeping us entertained, and so is the paddock. But yeah, that's it for paddock talk today. Let's talk about the upcoming race, the Singapore Grand Prix, baby.
Singapore!
Oh, okay. So Mo's got comfortable now to bring out her real personality. I'm very happy you gave that to the audience. So the biggest and only like interesting fun fact about Singapore was it's the OG night race, fellas. First time it was incepted, it happened, street circuit. Honestly, it's one of my favorites. After like Jeddah and Singapore are top. Monaco isn't. Hot take. I don't enjoy Monaco that much. Jeddah and Singapore are my top street circuits.
Singapore is one of the hardest circuits to drive because of the high humidity and the temperatures. It puts a lot of undue pressure and dehydration for these drivers. So it's super important for them to be hydrated all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's a street circuit, so the roads are not going to be as smooth. So it adds a different level of technicality for the drivers driving.
Yeah.
And it's a night race, because of which our drivers sleep most during the day. So
Yeah.
it's a very different system, and
Yeah.
it's one of it. It's a really tough circuit.
Yeah, with the night race, temperatures vary, so that's a different ball game. And yeah, like I can't remember. There were a few drivers in the past whose water supply was not connected during the race. That happens to you in Singapore, GG baby. Like, because I've read drivers lose up to 3 kilos at the Singapore Grand Prix because of how taxing it is physically. Isn't that wild? But Singapore has historically been, or recently, not historically been, but recently been a good track for your team, Ferrari.
Yeah, so last year, for everyone tuning in, Charles Leclerc took pole and he managed to finish second on the podium. Third was Carlos Sainz. So Ferrari does have a good track record in competing with the Singapore Grand Prix. But what might shock you was number one was actually Sergio Perez and not Max Verstappen last year.
King of streets, baby. King of streets. Yeah, Sergio, I don't know. He's not had a good run this year, but I hope Singapore is your revival, Sergio. Let's go, my man. Bring back King of Streets. And but Max said it'll be a tough race to win, but I think he'll still win it, and
and then make a record for like 11 straight wins. Yes.
Yeah, he needs to add an extra finger too with his little celebration. But yeah, Sam's also been really good with Singapore, as they famously said over the Ferrari radio that he's the lion of Singapore.
Yeah, the one change this year in the Singapore circuit is they have changed the layout a bit. So pole is expected to be 10 seconds faster than the year before. So I'm very excited to see what happens.
Yeah, that's a fun 10 seconds faster. That's a lot. I haven't kept up with the changes, but yeah, I'm excited for race weekend. I hope all of you out there are excited for race weekend. Watch the race. Let us know what you think about it. Let us know in the comments if there's anything you want us to talk about for next week, and we will unpack Singapore Grand Prix.
Now for the fun part, as we are the Future Wags podcast. Tharu, today my question for you is, who, in your opinion, is the best driver duo with the most romance currently?
Oh, these questions are tough. Honestly, why do I struggle? Obviously, I want to say George and Hamilton, but they're technically the best. They don't got the bromance going. Honestly, the one I like the most is Danny Rick and Lando. I know it got sour quickly in between, but they're back to being BFFs, so I enjoyed them more than Carlos and Charles because I think they're good friends, but I still feel like Carlos was being done dirty by both Charles and the team. So I'm gonna go with Danny, Rick, and Lando in their happy face. That's my answer. What about you?
I think my favorite bromance on the grid was Maxiel, Max and Daniel. And
Oh,
just how highly Daniel speaks about Max till date. He literally always says Max is still the same guy. Like
oh yeah,
winning so many championships, races has not got to him.
yeah.
And I just love that they always have each other's back. And that's one of my favorites. But also Carlos and Lando.
Carlando, that was a good one. That was like I don't know if I've been influenced by the edits online, but Lando seems so less alpha and cocky and just soft around. Okay, Carlos, so are you really gonna pick Maxiel over Carlando?
I don't know, but then they used to call each other my Muppet friend, which was so cute. And like even Carlos's farewell video from McLaren like got me all teared up. So I think they're solid. You know, since you mentioned Danny Lando, I mentioned Danny Max and Carlos Lando. I think the common denominator amongst everything is Lando and Carlos have always had great relationships with
True.
their.
Because the thing with all the Danny ones is Danny's kind of like carrying it. But yeah, I think I'll change my answer. Carlando. Carlando was so genuine, not like just two random dudes come together. Yeah, Carlando. And my question to you is your favorite couple on the grid.
This is a tough one.
We got some good couples out there.
There are a lot of great couples. So I think my favorite one on the grid right now is I really like Carmen and George. They seem like a really happy family. I love that Carmen is present in every race and super supportive to George. She's always with his family and he posts her so much. Like the man is so in love and so is she, of course. And like they just scream old money rich and like they seem just so secure and happy. Like George, it's time to put a ring on that finger. Like, it's time.
Yeah, they're like very serious. And they're like insanely fit. Like, insanely fit as a couple. So they're good. My favorite couple, been favorite for a while, Lily and Alex. Like, my God, the most wholesome couple. I can see them growing old together with all of Alex's pets.
In fact, I actually was watching another podcast, and apparently, Lily saw Alex for the first time on Drive to Survive when her friend made her watch him. And this was Alex's rookie season. And they started talking after. She noticed him first on Drive to Survive.
No way. Oh man, that's a great fact. I did not have. How romantic. I wonder how they met. But wow, you go, Lily. If you spotted him and went for him, we are happy you did that to our man because he seems happiest with you.
It's all you. Behind every successful man is an even more successful woman.
Oh yeah. We like that. We love you, F1 Wags, and we love everybody who's listening to us. Please answer these two questions in the comments. Let us know what you think. We'll miss you, but we'll catch you next week, same time, and we'll unpack Singapore.
Bye, my loves.